All right, let's dive into Genesis 44. This chapter isn't just another part of the story. It's a pressure cooker. This is it, the final, high-stakes test for a family that's been torn apart by jealousy for more than 20 years. A powerful governor is about to push his long-lost brothers right to their absolute breaking point.
So, think about this for a second. How far would you really go to find out if someone you love has truly changed? Well, the man they know as this powerful Egyptian ruler is about to answer that question with a plan so incredibly risky, it could either finally heal his family or shatter it for good.
So our story kicks off in the dark, pre-dawn hours of Egypt. A trap is being set, very carefully, very quietly, and the very sacks of grain that are meant to give life are about to become the tools of a masterfully designed test. Okay, verse 1. Joseph gives his head servant a two-part command. First, fill their sacks with grain, stuff them to the brim. Second, put all their money back, right at the top of each sack, where they can't miss it. Just imagine the steward's hands moving in the lamplight, pouring the grain, then slipping those heavy silver pouches right into the opening of each bag. Now verse 2. This is the linchpin of the whole plan. Joseph adds one more thing. And put my cup, the silver one, in the youngest brother's sack. Now this isn't just any old cup. Picture this ornate, gleaming silver goblet, a symbol of Joseph's immense power and status, being carefully hidden among the grain in little Benjamin's sack. The trap is now officially set.
Verse 3. And just like that, as the sun comes up, they're sent on their way. You can just see them, right? Leading their donkeys out of the massive city gates, the morning sun at their backs. You can almost feel the wave of relief washing over them. They've got the food, they've got Benjamin back safe and sound. This whole ordeal in Egypt is finally over. Or so they think.
But that feeling of relief, it's about to be completely shattered. Because the moment they're out of sight, phase 2 of Joseph's plan kicks into high gear. This is the chase.
Verse 4. Picture Joseph watching from a high window in his palace. He waits. He lets them get just far enough away from the city. Then he turns to his steward and gives the order. Go, follow them. The hunt is on.
Now look at verse 5. Joseph gives his steward the exact script. This isn't just a simple, hey, you stole something. No, he makes it so much worse. He claims the cup is used for divination, a kind of fortune-telling. This move brilliantly elevates the crime. Now it's not just theft, it's an insult to the governor's spiritual power.
Verse 6 is pure action. Imagine the sound of galloping horses, a cloud of dust rising on the horizon. The steward and his men catch up to the brothers, surrounding them, bringing their journey to a sudden, terrifying stop. The steward gets down and delivers Joseph's accusation, word for word. Now check out their reaction in verse 7. It's not guilt, it's total, genuine shock. You can see it on their faces, right? That feeling of relief from minutes ago just evaporates, replaced by pure disbelief. You can just hear them saying, "What? Us? Steal? No way, why would you even suggest such a thing?"
And in verse 8, they even offer logical proof. You can almost see Judah stepping forward, saying, "Hold on. We're the guys who found money in our sacks last time and rode all the way back here to return it. We're honest. Why on earth would we steal from your master now?" It makes perfect sense.
Then we get to verse 9, and this is their fatal mistake. In their absolute certainty, they make a reckless, terrible vow. They're so confident they're innocent, they basically say, "Go ahead, search us. If you find that cup on any one of us, let him be put to death. And the rest of us will be your slaves for life." They just set their own trap. But listen to the steward's clever reply in verse 10. He says, "Okay, deal, but let's change the terms a little. Only the one who's guilty will become my slave. The rest of you will be free to go." Now that sounds merciful, doesn't it? But it's not. It's the most crucial part of Joseph's test. Can he isolate one guilty brother and see if the others will abandon him again? Verse 11 is just a frenzy of motion. Imagine the sound of all those heavy grain sacks thudding down onto the dirt. The brothers are scrambling, pulling at the ropes, desperate to prove their innocence and just end this whole nightmare. And here it is, verse 12. The tension is just suffocating. The steward takes his time. He starts with Reuben, the oldest, opens the sack, nothing. He moves down the line, Simeon, Levi. One by one, each sack is clear. And then he gets to the last one, Benjamin's,
And you can just imagine the dead silence as the steward reaches in and pulls out that gleaming silver cup. Game over.
Verse 13 shows us pure, gut-wrenching despair. Tearing their clothes, that was the ultimate sign of grief in their culture. Picture the sudden, sharp sound of ripping fabric, one after another, and then nothing. Just a heavy, horrible silence as they reload their donkeys for the walk of shame back to the city they just left.
So now they have to go back and face the very man they just left. But this time is completely different. They walked out as free men, full of hope. They're walking back in as accused criminals, about to face judgment.
In verse 14, their body language says it all. They don't just stand in front of Joseph. They collapse. They fall on their faces, prostrate on the floor. This isn't just a sign of respect anymore. It's the desperate posture of men who have no defense, begging for mercy. And Joseph? He's still there, waiting for them, as if he knew they'd be back.
Joseph's words in verse 15 are ice cold. It's a checkmate. What is this you've done? And then he twists the knife, reminding them of the cup's supposed magical power. He's basically saying, did you really think you could hide this from me? A man in my position knows things.
Judah speaks for them all in verse 16, and he doesn't even try to argue. He just surrenders. But listen closely to how he surrenders. He says, God has found out the iniquity of your servants. He's not talking about the cup. He's seeing this as divine payback for what they did to their other brother Joseph all those years ago. And this, right here, is the moment of truth. In verse 17, Joseph gives his final verdict, and it's the last brutal turn of the screw. Picture him pointing right at Benjamin. He's the thief. He will be my slave. The rest of you, you're free. Go home in peace. The offer is designed to be the ultimate test. Will they abandon Rachel's last son, just like they abandoned her first? Everything, the entire story, 2 decades of guilt and separation, it has all come down to this single moment. Is history going to repeat itself, or has something, finally, truly changed in the hearts of these men? All eyes are on one brother, Judah.
Verse 18 is an incredible act of courage. While his brothers are still face down on the floor, Judah gets up. He steps forward into the personal space of this intimidating ruler, and he begs, "Please, my lord, just let me say one thing."
In verse 19, Judah starts his speech, and it's brilliant. He doesn't make excuses. He starts by reminding Joseph of his own words. He's essentially saying, let's not forget, you were the one who started all this by asking about our family.
He goes on in verse 20, and he paints this absolutely heartbreaking picture of his family. He talks about his elderly father and about Benjamin, the beloved, youngest child, the only one left from his mother. He is masterfully laying the emotional groundwork here.
Now in verse 21, Judah gently shifts the blame. He reminds Joseph, then you ordered us to bring him here. We're only in this mess because you demanded it. He recounts their original warning in verse 22. We told you this would happen, he says. We begged you. We tried to explain that if we took the boy, it would kill our father. And in verse 23, he reminds the governor of the ultimatum. It was either bring Benjamin down to Egypt or the entire family back in Canaan would starve. They had no choice. So in verses 24 through 26, Judah basically makes Joseph relive those agonizing conversations they had with their father. He describes Jacob's desperation for food and their own firm promise. We cannot go back unless Benjamin is with us.
Then, in verses 27 through 29, Judah does something amazing. He stops talking as himself and starts quoting his father Jacob directly. He forces Joseph to hear the raw, unfiltered pain of the father he abandoned, a father who thinks one son was mauled by an animal and is now terrified of losing the only other son from the woman he loved.
Now we get to the heart of it, in verses 30 and 31. Picture a literal bond, like a cord of light, connecting the soul of old Jacob to his son Benjamin. Judah is explaining that this bond is so vital that if he goes back home without the boy, that cord will snap, and his father will die. It's that simple. And in verse 32, Judah makes it deeply personal. It's not just about his dad or his brother anymore. It's about his own word, his own honor. He promised. He personally guaranteed Benjamin's safety. He, Judah, finally became his brother's keeper. And then comes the stunning climax in verse 33. After laying out this entire case, Judah gets on his knees and makes the most incredible offer. Please, he begs, let me take his place. Let me be your slave for the rest of my life. Just let the boy go home. It is the ultimate act of selfless love.
He ends his plea with verse 34, and it is just staggering. He says his greatest fear isn't becoming a slave. It isn't dying in Egypt. His greatest fear is having to go home and watch his father's heart break. He would rather live and die a slave than have to witness that pain.
So there it is, Judah, the very same brother who came up with the idea to sell Joseph into slavery all those years ago, has just offered his own life to save his younger brother. This is the whole point. He's a changed man. He has passed the test with flying colors. The only question left is, how will the powerful governor of Egypt react now that he's seen this incredible transformation for himself?